If you look, you will always find the unique local places in each city or town you drive through. The Buckeye Trading Post on US 50 is one of those. Along with very unique gifts, they have concrete garden decor, gem mining, a crystal shop, and a knife and leather shop, and a museum full of oddities, tribal artifacts, and antiquities. Join us as we take you inside the main shop and on a tour of the museum with the owners who tell us all about some of the items.
This is all Nazi Germany stuff. You know, that's all Hitler. That's a sword that was actually brought back as a souvenir. We got that from the guy. His dad actually was there and brought that back as a souvenir.
And the Filipino knife.
And the Filipino, yeah.
So where do you get most of your stuff from? I mean, a lot of it came from the property, but...
well, a lot of it comes to us as we've been searching for stuff. We're like weirdos and we like weird things.
They're just always looking.
So, like this doll. This doll is 900 years old and is straight out of the ground from Peru.
Wow.
Because it's from like the Nazca lines and they don't have any rain there.
Right.
So everything's really well preserved.
So the wreath on the wall is made out of human hair, and it was a popular art during the Victorian times. And Lizzie Borden's aunt is who that supposedly made that particular shadow box, and also the doorknob to the right was from Lizzie Borden's house. And right below it, there are drawings of the kind of lobster claw hands that were Donald King's hands that we were talking about earlier.
That's this gentleman.
Yeah, and he had no lower body. He just had lobster claw type hands, and he was a very talented person. He loved history, had a small museum between Beebe and Madison, Indiana. He has passed away now, and they sold a lot of it at auction, sadly, but he taught himself to read. He taught himself how to do a bunch of different board art, metal art, everything from small intricate items to giant, armoires he could make, and he had an incredible history at his museum.
Fantastic.
We've got a few post-mortem pictures gathered around, which of course is the gentleman at the top that's laying after his death. It was kind of an eerie thing today, but back in the 1880s to maybe 1910 or 20.
Yeah, right.
And the one to the left is also a post-mortem where it shows the gentleman's picture on the left, and there's a chair that commemorated, all the wreaths and flowers remembering him when he passed away. Today we think of it as kind of an eerie thing, but back then it was a very, memorial type thing that they did.
It was respectful back then.
And below you is a lot of things from pre-Columbian art type things. There's everything from Tirona bells, where they would put different shells and different rocks and things to make them jingle out of copper, to different cocoa leaf chewers that have little bursts of things in their mouth where they're chewing the cocoa leaves for energy, to an elongated skull on the plate there to the left, to figural pottery.
Now, is everything for sale, or is it just...
No, part of this is a museum. There are a few select artifacts that are for sale on the left as we come in, and there's some in the main shop, but some of this is just neat museum items to remember history. We don't want to repeat a lot of history, but we like to remember history for what it is. So.
Right.
There's also a very famous pattern up there too. In Peruvian times they would use a certain red bug to make the dye even, and it's a hand weaved item that's extremely old. I don't know if you know the age on that.
It's about
1,000 years old on that particular.
All the textiles are right around 1,000 years old.
I've never seen this many arrowheads in one spot in my life.
And a lot of these come from the Ohio River Valley, anywhere from Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky.
We dug all the pipes from Point Pleasant.
Yes. These are all Point Pleasant trading pipes from Point Pleasant, Ohio. And that's in that shadow box there.
Oh, yeah.
And there's everything from scrapers to arrowheads, knives, pottery shards, drills, gorgets, which are necklace pieces. And then down below you, it kind of jumps around. We've got, of course, some Guatemalan type things, even rollers where they would design the different designs onto their pottery. There's very cool goblets, which I would love to drink out of, like Indiana Jones, but I might die. I don't know. Did you talk about the deer antler carving?
No, not yet.
And some of the pottery has even different designs made on it from bark or different eyes, like called the cat eye, which is kind of different designs on there.
Right.
The large pod is from out west, not really the Indians around here, but more like New Mexico area called the Zia tribe. It would have been similar to these type of Indians here. It's pretty close to complete pod. It's got a lot of remarkable red coloration in it too.
It's from about 1750.
About, 1750 is the time frame on that about.
Goodness.
Lots of, again, axes, celts, mortar pestles, gorgets, shell hoes. Axes have the line in them where they would, hook them up with sinew, and celts do not have kind of a groove in them.
Right.
And this is an Etruscan ossuary in the very last case when you get over here at the very bottom. This dates back to 2nd century BC, and it actually would have been in the Tuscany, Italy type area, but it also depicted a battle scene between a couple of brothers on the front, and that would have housed someone's remains back in the day. And they called it basically a bone box, but it's called an Etruscan ossuary.
Okay.
There's also a coin recovered from, Greek shipwrecks, a coin from the Atocha. There's pilgrim shoe soles from shipwrecks in the top there, lots of sea-type items. And again, back to lots of arrowheads and
tell me the story of this guy one more time.
So James Hackney was a slave originally in the Kentucky area. He swam his way to freedom across the Ohio, ended up in Beebe, Indiana, where the Danner family raised him, or took care of him actually. After a while, he ended up in Cross Plains, Indiana, but he also served in the Civil War, and he was injured, and that's his cane that you can see sticking out behind the picture frame just a little bit.
Right.
And he was one of the most famous local Underground Railroad conductors. So he was out of Ripley County, out of the Cross Plains, Indiana area toward the end of his life, and he's buried there.
Okay.
So this particular frame has all arrowheads that were found right on the property, right behind us. It was kind of like an Indian campsite burial ground type area. And they were all surface finds, but there's tons of bird points, which could be ceremonial or they could be for small game.
Right.
And also in the center is a dovetail that's been ceremonial, broke in half on purpose for some type of ceremony, whether it had been a burial or some other type of ceremony.
Okay, that's on purpose.
And dovetail is the correct name I'm using, yes.
Okay.
And these were gorgets, necklace pieces here that the Indians would have drilled the holes in and put them on their, neck for different jewelry type pieces.
Right.
The ones that are, drilled.
Sure. Unbelievable. I had no idea this was here.
Say it again.
1963.
Yeah, this was found in 1963 in Miami town at 18 feet deep.
It's some sort of prehistoric bone. We don't really know exactly what it is, but it's quite interesting.
It's a hoof of an animal.
A friend of ours had given it to us for the museum.
And that's
Nobody-
Miamitown, Ohio.
No one knows what that is?
We took it to the Big Bone State Park, wasn't it?
Well,
And they said they didn't know. They said that they wasn't sure what it come off
It
of because we
definitely
thought it
is-
was a mastodon.
it's not a
And it's
mastodon.
not at all.
Huh.
This is a stone that we found kind of close to the Clay and Owsley County line. I have a lot of family there. We were crossing a creek, and my husband saw something as he was throwing rocks across the creek for me to cross, and it has all these little footprints carved in it. And we've had several people look at it, and they think that it's a Cherokee trail marker of sorts, and the trail there kind of does naturally go to a straight area, and then it bears to the left, which we're wondering if that's what the footprints kind of signifies, that you go straight and then bear to the left just a bit. And then this is a lot more of different scrapers, some pipes, some banner stones, some mortar and pestles, some celts and axes are in here as well, some arrowheads, just a mixture of all different things. They could be anywhere from Franklin County, Indiana to anywhere along the Ohio River Valley to Ross, Ohio to places nearby.
Wow. That's just cool.
Antique sign. For Tango Foot. They actually outlawed that stuff. They don't even sell it now.
And in this case, there's kind of a mixture of some local items, like from Dearborn County, a lot of the original Crescent Brewery bottles, as well as some of the Dillsboro Health Resort crocks and bottles and ladles are toward the bottom. There's also a Fiji mermaid right in the middle. P.T. Barnum created this type of thing, and he mixed half fish with half monkey. And he said that, you know, he would charge $0.25 for such a thing because a sucker was born every minute, but they called it a Fiji mermaid. But it's really half fish, half monkey.
And then there's the money from the Whitewater Canal, the stocks from the 1840s.
Oh, yeah.
So there's some with, I think, William Henry Harrison on there somewhere. I have to find where they're at. But.
And then there's the, tell them about this, Shannon.
Yeah, so this was a deer antler that was carved by a mental patient. Now, I don't know why they gave a mental patient a sharp object, but they intricately carved this beautifully as a skeleton. It's just amazing.
So and where were they?
That I don't know, Kevin. Do you know where this was at?
Yeah, Madison Mental Wards, where I was told it was from.
My
Give that back. There's also...
And then these were from, was it Robert's uncle that was in the mental ward? I think that was from his, from Robert's uncle that was in the mental ward.
They just carved little baskets out of
they
beach
just carved
pits and things like that.
baskets out of little nuts.
And then here you'll find a ring that was also from P.T. Barnum's, type circus or different, they would travel different circuits, but Alto Maney's one of the giants, and that's his ring there, that's a large one. And we have the floor plate, a piece of it, from the famous Ed Gein, who was kind of the very famous killer that they based Texas Chainsaw Massacre and such on.
Okay.
He really only killed, I believe, that we know of, 2 people, but he liked to be crafty and go to the local cemetery, and he made everything from lampshades and upholstery out of human skin to he even had boxes full of women's vaginas.
From the P.T. Barnums.
Yes, so in the back it's called a fairing, the little white porcelain piece, and it was the famous Siamese twins. And that would be, if you went to visit them, you would get like a souvenir called a fairing, and that was from the famous first set of Siamese twins that toured with him.
That's from about 1840.
Shang and Ang or something like that. I have to look at the right name.
That's from about 1840.
Free cards.
The fun fact about that is they fathered about 26 children. You can fun fact me, check me on that, but I try to picture how that happened.
It's a whole bunch of awkward moments.
Yeah. And then there's a bunch of kind of mercury jars. There's
a human, real human arm.
Yes, there's a real human arm that they would study for medical purposes and things.
Yes.
There's even some quack boxes here and there, embalming fluid, things like that.
This is all the Indians around here. They used to chisel plow.
And there's a leg that they would use for an amputee. There's some Civil War pieces too from Gettysburg. There's some things from Perryville, the battle there, and also Harper's Ferry. Let's see, I can switch.
Holy cool.
And that particular ball and chain was from Perryville, Kentucky also.
Okay.
The very top shelf on the left, if you go over, there are some little discs there, and those are the discs that they would have used in their mouths, like in the different areas of Africa and places where they like to protrude their lips out.
Oh, yeah.
And then to the right of it is a tribal monkey skull. And then there's some other slave ankle bells. There's also some masks from Africa, different brass pieces from Africa there as well. And then on the second shelf, as you kind of get toward the left, there's even a Tibetan silver-colored, or covered, I guess, conch shell and some more monkey skull type things. There's also some World War II pieces in the very bottom as well.
Read this sculpture. and the guy that made the piece.
So, this is the original house.
It dates to 1830, and there's a stone on the end that says TM for Thomas Miller, 1830. They lived in this house with their family. Probably about 8 to 10 of them at different times in here while they were building the big house, but there is access to a second floor only by an outside door with a ladder that they would throw up, and legend has it during certain Indian raids and things they would hide up there for a little bit of safety. And a lot of the photos on the wall kind of capture the house through all different eras. The oldest ones, which are kind of in the center here, date from 1897 with the horses out front and the kind of, Victorian type dress on.
Yes.
That's 1897 right here at the house. And then it jumps to about 1937 with most of these other photos to the right. And you can see brooms pointing upward on both the barn and the house, showing the level of the 1937 flood that kind of went to the...
Let me get this guy.
Yes, it goes right to the third, window pane.
Right.
Toward the top there is how high it went. You can see a light flood mark going around the entire building. Same thing with the white barn. They're showing you with the broom where the flood mark went all the way up on the white barn.
Right.
And again, the picture below is about 1937 there as well. And then it jumps to the far left is 1974. And at that point, the great-great-granddaughter owned the home, and it was put on the National Register of Historic Places.
Okay.
And then at the top, it captures some of the pig butchering and things that they did here on the property. So.
Sure. Wow. Stunning.
And the fireplace here is used still today. We cook on it occasionally, but it's one of those large ones with the arm that you can cook on.
Still functions.
Yep.
Do you ever drive by someplace and just get this longing to go inside because it is calling to you and you know it has stories to tell? This is one of those places, an historic place that has been preserved since the 1830s, a place that has so many stories to tell you can't count them, not to mention the amazing one-of-a-kind artifacts and antiquities that have been added over the years that have their own stories. The Thomas Miller home did not disappoint.
Unbeknownst to us, when we came to this property, there was no bell here. We walked around and we said, I believe that bell would look great right here. Unbeknownst to us, it was the exact location, different bell of the original one.
I'll be darned.
Then, as we went in, there was a Seth Thomas clock on the right in the kitchen, and we have a Seth Thomas clock on the right in the kitchen. There was a buffet in the dining room, which the people prior to us had used it as a living room. We thought it looked better as a dining room. We had the buffet in the same location, and in the bedroom upstairs, we have the exact same bed, except they had two twins, and we had a queen with the same design in our bedroom. So we kind of decided we were keepers of the house, because it was all working out to be super weird that all this was there before we knew it, but we had so much the same. So
I love it.
That's crazy.
this was the servants' stairs, and you can see how worn they are. The servants use this set of stairs, and when we get upstairs, you'll see that there's one room that's not connected to the house that was just the servants' quarters. And instead of having the easy stairs, they had kind of these dog leg stairs that went up there.
Right.
So this is a little closet underneath. Some people have said legend had it during like the Underground Railroad times that they would have a hiding place underneath the dog leg staircase, which would be inside this little closet. We haven't really ripped it apart to see if we see anything else in there, but there is just a small closet in there at this point, but we haven't tried to go under the floors or anything to see if there's any merit to that.
They're very steep.
Yes.
This is amazing. I've never seen anything like this. So this would have been the serving schoolhouse?
I think this is
just that one
over here, yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out more when we get the tour of the inside. Look at the slate shaders too. Oh.
It's just stunning.
I know.
Everything.
And I'm moving into the stone house.
So check out where the timbers are coming through the stone. See?
Yeah.
That's for the second floor, right? So you're taking over the stone house?
I'm moving into the stone house, yeah. I just need to get some steps and access to the upstairs.
Yeah, I don't see you climbing a rope. So.
Come on in.
Okay. Wow.
This, of course, is the kitchen. And this house dates to 1836.
So we're coming in the back door, just so everyone knows.
And every room pretty much has a fireplace in the house. And of course the kitchen's been a little, modernized just to live in, of course. But most of it has the original trim and walls and things like that. And this here, of course, is the dining room.
Stunning.
And there's a couple of built-in cabinets on the right-hand side that are, of course, original to the home as well. They would house all their, buffet supplies and things like that, and another fireplace too. And one thing that's kind of notable here is that the big frame on the wall here that has another piece of Victorian hair work in it. They would make wreaths and different things out of human hair again in the Victorian time period.
We have seen that before.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare.
This, if you'll notice, has a big crack across it, and there's a whole story with that. We've owned this wreath for quite a while, many, many years actually, and my husband and I were standing right where you and I are standing one day talking about how magnificent the craftsmanship is and whose hair it might have been and different things over time. And as we're standing here, he noted that had been there forever, hung up. All of a sudden, as we're speaking about it, it goes pop,
no
and it
kidding.
cracks top to bottom.
Yeah, you can
we
totally
both
see
opened
it.
our mouths, and no one had touched it. It had been there for a long time, and we just kind of walked away because we thought that was kind of bizarre that happened.
And
For
I
no
love
reason.
that piece above it.
That is the wedding veil. If you see the lady in the picture, we don't know who that is. We kind of go different places and find things that interest us or call us out, and that was a veil with their wedding photo below it. So that's the lady while she was wearing the veil, and then they made like a shadow box in the frame of the veil. So it's kind of just interesting. And these are wax covered. Is that how you would explain it? Flowers, Kevin?
Paraffin wax.
Yeah, like paraffin wax covered flowers, which is again another cool, just kind of Victorian shadow box that we thought was quite interesting. The owner, the last owner, was a Wessel, and he supposedly passed away in this room, and he fell forward into like a bowl of cereal I know it sounds odd. No one found him for several days, but when they did find him, of course, he was, in this particular room. So one day we were here and this particular cylinder player came on totally by itself. It takes 2 distinct movements to get it to come on, and it just came on and started playing. So we felt maybe that was old man Wessel kind of talking to us, so.
Nice. If that comes on tonight, I'll be really excited.
Yeah.
You think?
Yep. Feel free to come on by yourself.
Then we can retire.
We can retire.
There's nothing else that happens after that.
And this knight that's in the hallway, he's kind of a knight in shining armor, we call him. He was in the Harrison Junior High School for probably about 25 years before we had an opportunity to buy him. And the document above it is a document that shows that they borrowed money to buy slaves and that sort of thing back from many years ago. Do you know any dates on that, Kevin, offhand without looking at it?
Signed by one of the kings because it's in Virginia in the 17th.
So it's still under British
1760,
control.
so it was under British rule. So I think it's King George III signed off on those slaves. Yeah.
I knew it was one of the Georges, but yeah.
Wow.
And this is the front door. This is where you would come in the front.
Yep, and there's a big key if you want to show them that, Kevin or Stephanie.
Oh, yeah.
It's still got the original key, and that's a big key.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Love it.
And then we can go into the living room if you'd like. And this was the living room with a parlor, and then other fireplaces in here. We've got a few finds on the right that always make people curious. There's a goat that's stuffed there, like a kind of like a mountain goat or sheep. I don't know what you would actually consider it. And then a triangular frame. They were both from like the New Harmony area of Indiana. We just thought it was a neat find over the years. Don't know who most of these people are on the walls, but we think they're interesting.
I just heard a man clear his throat behind me and it was not Kevin.
Okay.
I think it might have been Mr. Russell.
And we do have a vampire bat in the globe. I forgot to point that out to the right.
We can do that on our way out.
Yeah.
Oh my God. My mom had to see
The cabinet, we love the Victorian couches. We've got a couple of those too, but some are more reproduction and some are more authentic. And then there's also the cabinet on the far left with the star and the moon is actually from Istanbul, Turkey. So it's kind of got that interesting shape, and it's got written underneath, and it's got some, I guess it's Turkish writing. I have not found anyone to transcribe what it means at the very bottom drawer, but it's got something written on the bottom drawer there, so yeah.
Oh, that's a picture of my family right there. Yeah, that one's my family.
Really?
I think they were hunting that day.
Yeah, that's where my true hillbilly comes from right there.
And then if you guys ever go through Sunman, Indiana, this document here that says the Price House, we used to own it. It's now, over the years it was called the Charter House, and I believe it's a pizza place now. But that was some original hotel stationery where someone had written a love letter. The boy at the bottom had written a love letter to the kind of Victorian girl at the top when he stayed at the Price House. And a friend of ours happened to own that document and copied it for us when we owned that
That was
building.
actually his aunt.
Yep, that was Robert's aunt. Yeah. And that's the cabin where my grandparents lived. There's not much left of it. It's down in close to Clay in Owsley County, Kentucky there, but it's starting to fall in.
Dale, did you get the shadow box with the dove in it over here?
No.
Gotta get that.
There's no way to get everything.
There's a lot going on.
Oh, it's amazing.
And Victorians love shadow boxes, and I kind of am a bit of a Victorian at heart. They have a little bit of, flowers, a little bit of birds, a little bit of, story.
Okay, so you gotta get this back.
And I do have one more of the veils too from another lady. I don't know if she's actually wearing the veil in that photo, but that was her veil with her photo in another shadow box. But I don't know if she's actually wearing it in that photo. I don't think so.
I'll have to show that to my mom.
Yeah.
She's probably seen it before, but. Dale, right there is a bat.
Yeah, so it's a vampire bat, and
Oh,
that's a real
wow.
one. It's just preserved.
That is so cool.
Yes, Kevin can demonstrate that actually before you go up. It's kind of a fun one. It's a Victorian music box. And it plays the metal cylinder type, or metal
Oh,
disc.
yeah. Sounds great.
Yes, it is more here right there, and also
Right here.
and right to right here. And then the soldier's picture, we don't know a lot about it except it was found in Charleston, South Carolina. And we've been trying to research it a little bit, but it's a pretty cool
I have a
painting.
couple of buddies that they actually think it's might be General Lee.
Oh, cool. We're still trying to
Really?
research it.
Let's get a good shot of that face.
We tried to put a bunch of different Victorian gold frame kind of prints going up just to kind of keep with the period of the house. And when we moved in, the original wallpaper, when the great-great-granddaughter restored it, probably in the 50s to 70s time period, we left all that just because we wanted it to be kind of, you know, as natural as it can be. And we'll bear to the right when we get up here, and we'll go to that bedroom first. We'll get some lights. And this was my daughter's room when she was still at home. And the bed is quite unique. We had an opportunity several years ago. They had an old mansion in northern Kentucky that they were tearing down. And my husband had permission to go in and take anything that we wanted. And he found this bed in multiple pieces laying in the attic. And there was actually a photo attached to the headboard, which we're assuming is the person that either made the bed or slept in it. We did find out that the Halley family owned the mansion, and they were famous because they had two doctors in their family, quite famous, and they turned into the seed business. They decided to kind of invent one of the early burley tobacco types, and it was called the Halley Seed Company. And they were so wealthy at one point, they had a mansion that was over near Lexington, where they basically were the first airport. Charles Lindbergh actually landed on their property, and that later became the Lexington Airport.
Wow.
But they had a lot of really nice pieces of furniture, very historic.
Probably the oldest piece of furniture in the house is this chair from about 1780.
A couple of things I didn't point out in the living room, which we can go back there, but if you look at the ceiling, do you see two handprints distinct on the ceiling?
Oh, yeah.
So when we first moved in, those were not there, and one day we noticed some also in the living room. And there was nothing that was ever
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre.
placed there. They started appearing, these handprints, and no one could explain them.
Okay, that's bizarre.
So we left them because we thought that's bizarre because they weren't there, and then they were there, and we've not done anything to put those there.
Those are clearly...
Yes, and in the living room, I
Handprints.
forgot to show you because there's a lot of little tidbits. We'll have to point those out down there because once they were here first, we noticed them, and then later we noticed some appearing in the living room.
Okay.
This painting was also done by Tom Ward, which was kind of a famous Aurora painter, as I understand it, from Aurora, Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
So a local guy. Yep. mhm.
I think he just
Yep.
gave, or somehow, we got one at 3rd and Main at the tavern that he did. And the tavern was given that.
Yeah. And then we can kind of make our way down the hall as you get finished, and we'll go into another room. And again, we left kind of the original wallpaper in here as much as we could, and all the doors, the trim, all that. To the right is a bathroom, of course. It's just a normal bathroom, but it's kind of still decorated old style. And then this is our bedroom, which again has the old wallpaper still because we wanted to kind of keep that original feel, and another fireplace too. And then we're gonna go out. You have to go outside of the house, either up the dog leg staircase, the servant staircase, or out on the balcony here to reach the former servants' quarters, but we're gonna go to the servants' quarters
Oh,
now.
okay.
And that's through this doorway.
there's the 1860s map, Shannon. And then there's the shipwreck in George Carrollton.
This was originally used as a servant's quarters for like domestic help and things. And then later it was used by Rebecca Wessel, who was the last actual relative of Thomas Miller to live here. And she used it as an art studio because she was also an art teacher. And that map on the wall is from, I believe, 1860, and it's of Dearborn County. So it's got a lot of, original information on that that's quite useful.
And all of a sudden I just want to cry.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're feeling sad?
Yeah, I'm feeling very sad.
Okay.
And we also painted the room pretty close to the original color.
Oh no, we didn't do them those. Here,
Yes.
this room was never touched
Until we got it.
until we got it. I had to put a coat of paint on because
To
it was
preserve it,
deteriorated really bad. This is the original cut.
So
That's
it's
the
super
original
close.
paint.
Yeah, it's pretty close as you can get.
That is completely
Unless you get rid of the grime,
1836 paint.
Wow.
You're right ahead.
So that's the attic.
That is the attic,
Yeah.
and when you go up, you'll have to be careful on the stairs because it's again kind of like a dog leg looking staircase,
Right.
and it goes up and opens up gigantically up there.
And I thought my steps were steep.
These are really steep, so
Good.
I'll let you guys go up there.
Good grief.
I'm sure it's nice and hot.
Oh my gosh. Ah.
Oh my God.
How am I gonna get back down? Wow.
Nice and warm.
Yep, this is where all the heat is up here.
Yeah.
My God, Stephanie, look at this.
Holy moly.
This steps are a little bit uneven. Yeah, so Kane, my son, was down here several years ago, and the door shuts from the outside up here in the laundry room and locks, and we heard somebody pounding on the door, and we come over, and he was locked down in here, and there's no way that you can lock it. Neither of our family members or anything did it, and it locks from, like I said, upstairs, not down here, so there was no way to do it himself, so he got locked down here once.
Wow.
But that was thrilling.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the original butchering table from 1836.
Gosh.
It's like a big tree.
And literally, it's a giant tree, so that's the reason. Only reason that this is not left in the basement, and someone's probably bought and sold it, is because it weighs like 400 pounds.
Yeah. Wow, that is so cool.
Oh, something I left in here with it. That's a hoof.
Hoof,
That's a
yeah.
big hoof.
Yes, it is.
There you go.
Yeah, where they was butchering.
Yep.
That's funny.
And a real rock floor.
Yeah.
Hey lovelies, that wraps up another episode of the Got Spooky Society here in North Bend, Ohio, where I finally found my knight in shining armor.
Wait, I
Oh
think
my
I'm gagging.
goodness.
I'm getting ready to hurl.
What?
I'm getting
You're
ready to
gonna
hurl.
Anyway, we're at the Thomas Miller home, and we are so excited to bring this footage to you. It is just a phenomenal place, regardless of anything that happened tonight. And until next time, my night and I say,
Stay spooky.